So guys, I want to talk about AEW Final Battle, and I was very lucky because since I'm a Connecticut boy, I was able to go down to the Hammerstein Ballroom, and also pardon me because I'm overcoming a bit of a cough. Like I actually need to go to a doctor next week. So, I'm watching like AEW three nights in a row, and then I'm flying down to Orlando to World's End. So I do want to say like with the show that I felt it was a little too long. There was not like any match that I wanted to see outside of Dustin and Sammy versus the Righteous, just because I'm a fan of Dustin Rhodes. And like I've said before, that unfortunately what happened was I walked out during the main event because I don't care about Athena. I really think that she needs to actually give up the women's title. it makes it. Yeah, I actually walked out during the main event because obviously, with Athena, she needs to give up the women's title. She's held it for like over 2 years. It honestly is bad because there's actually like a lot of people who don't even know that she was Ember Moon or Ember Moon. Athena was actually wrestling in AEW. And then it also kind of goes down to the Jade Cargill argument. Why would she want to be the ROH Women's Champion for years and years when that title has no, when it's not the top title of the company? So there has to be a point of moving herself forward, and the women's division is struggling. So I really think that, they're being a little too stubborn and they're relying on Athena way too much, really. So, I'm not going to watch a 30-minute match knowing that Athena's going to win this shit. She has to turn heel, and then they're saying that there is a Ring of Honor show the night before All In Texas. That's a time for her to be a heel, drop the title there, and then appear at All In. That's how they should be doing this shit. Otherwise, it doesn't make any sense. So I want to go over the match card, and I want to talk about the matches. And there's some things that I will talk about and I will not talk about. The first thing that I have my list. The first thing I want to talk about is the Fatal 5-Way for the Eliminator for the Ring of Honor Championship, Television Championship. Like, I was very surprised that Commander won this. I'm very happy for him because he kind of comes off like an underdog. So, like, once again, I really just hope that he and his announcer, they both get on the microphone. They talk about what this means to him. And he should talk about and he should even come out with, like, the championship, even on, like, during the Continental Classic and say, like, you know what, I'm an underdog. I'm here. I have all these great matches. I do all these really great things. I'm going to make myself a big deal. Just really run with this energy and really have him be like this underdog wrestler. Because you don't know if he can be like the next Rey Mysterio, like that type of underdog, type of luchador type of thing. So it was really good. I was surprised that Brian Cage lost. Like I say about Brian Cage, he loses too much. Willie Mack had some comedy. Like the big man spots are really appreciated. I really think that, once again, if he talked on the microphone and you saw what and I kind of assessed how he was a character, maybe AEW will give him a contract or something like that, really. So it was a good match. It was actually probably the big surprise of the night, really. But like I said, it's also bad in a way, too, because Brian Cage loses all the time, really. Then I want to start with Hanako versus Harley Cameron. I was very surprised. Hanako got a large... Hanako was... she got like a big push from AEW. There were a lot of people behind Harley Cameron. So it was a little bad because the referee sucked during this match. One thing they don't tell you about Ring of Honor is that the rule of Ring of Honor is that it's a 20 count, not a 10 count. So they need to make that clear to the audience. If you don't make that clear, that's very, very poor story. That's very, very poor because people get confused. And then the next thing that I would say is that there were a lot of spots where the referee counted to 3 or did a slow count. So it's very evidential that Hanako was going to win this. So honestly, the referees have to be a little bit more, they need to kind of cover up those weaknesses. Otherwise, it looks very, very fake, really. So they really need to just really talk to the referees and just do that a lot better, really. But I think a lot of people fell for Harley Cameron because she's putting in a lot of work. And it was just one of those things you see in Mercedes Moné's match. You see that underdog, that person that's putting in a lot of work, really, and you kind of know the direction that they're going to go in. So like I said, if Hanako is being advertised as a heel or this privileged girl of ROH, really, run with that. And then honestly, you can do something like you can actually have her be a top heel, and then you can have Harley Cameron be like this underdog wrestler, and then you can kind of run with it because Harley Cameron, she does have personality really, but it's honestly she runs through a lot of Jillian from WWE really. But if you kind of have her be like this underdog, or there's a sense of, you know what, she doesn't like to lose and she wants to get better and better and take it more seriously, and that's her journey of a joke to more serious, you know, there's something you can do with that, you know. So that was really good. The next thing that I want to say is, I'm sorry, my brother's going shopping, and his big fat ass is going to walk through the door and interrupt this video. So I got to check every once in a while just so that doesn't happen. Working with a cold and working with an inconsiderate relative. Undisputed Kingdom versus STP. I was very surprised in this match. Shane Taylor Promotions, they're acting like heels. They're acting like they're very desperate for a victory. I've kind of said a lot about Shane Taylor. Like, you know, he's kind of a tragedy because he's a big man and he has a lot of talk and bravado, but he's not pushed that well. Like, I think he needs to be, you know, in the trios division. I think Shane Taylor Promotions needs to be in the trios division, and they actually need to go somewhere. Or you can have, you know, like 4 of them in the trios division with Anthony Ogogo. Then you can have Shane Taylor versus Anthony Ogogo. There's something about Shane Taylor. He has bravado. He has a lot of like care, but he's not really going in the direction that he should be going. Surprise, surprise, Undisputed Kingdom wins because obviously Adam Cole and MJF, Matt Taven and Mike Bennett are going to be involved in that match. They're going to be involved ringside. So definitely, you know, we don't know what's going to happen really. Are they going to join MJF? Is it going to be something where it's going to be MJF and Wardlow versus Adam Cole, Matt Taven, and Mike Bennett? Are they going to do something like they're going to beat down MJF? Are they going to beat down Adam Cole? You know, how is this going to end really? So obviously, knowing that and being smart enough to know that, you know, is out there really, kind of knew that Shane Taylor's going to lose. So, you know, like I said before, and I'll say it again, I think Shane Taylor Promotions has a lot of potential, but they're kind of in that Team Rocket type of role where they're just there to job a little too much, you know. And Shane Taylor can talk to the microphone. He knows how to instigate the audience. He has a lot of like bravado and amp to him, and that really needs to be pushed, you know. So definitely very unfortunate for him. And I'm going to do a video about that. Atlantis Jr. versus Mansoor. I don't really remember anything from this match except, you know, Danhausen appears. Atlantis Jr. is a really great athlete. I don't care about Mansoor. Like, the Maximum Male models, they lose too much. Not good when you have, like, new wrestlers, new tag teams, and they lose all the time. You saw Danhausen do the T-spot. Danhausen got a great reaction, but it's like, as I said, what are you going to do with Danhausen? Because he kind of feels like he'll be in the Orange Cassidy type of role. If you make Orange Cassidy serious, like I've said before, I think you're going to get a lot. But you can have Danhausen kind of fill that role. But then again, what are you going to do like a year from now? Have Danhausen in a Fatal 4-Way or whatever. So I kind of want to see what they're going to do with Danhausen and how they're going to incorporate that. But overall, nothing really stood out to me. Shibata versus Dynamite Kid, nothing really stood out to me. Shibata is a great submissions wrestler. I wish he talked more in the microphone. I wish, you know, if he can't talk, you know, just put him with somebody. You know, there's 2 wrestlers who don't talk. You had Dynamite Kid. As some people were saying, that he reminds me of he's like reminiscent of Colin Delaney. You know, people are making fun of the fact that he's wearing purple tights. You know, so nothing special about that match. You had Jay Lethal versus QT Marshall. And this was actually, you know, like a fun match. Because, you know, we saw Black Machismo, and I think he got a great reaction. So they need to bring back Black Machismo. That's going to get over him. And, like, imagine if he cut a promo and he did all that stuff, really. I think then that would really push him. So I hope this is not, like, a one-off thing. Like, they need to push that. You had Karen Jarrett come out as Miss Elizabeth. Not Miss Elizabeth, but I think Sensational Sherry. And the other part of it was that QT Marshall came out with one of his buddies, and this guy was harassing Karen Jarrett. Jeff Jarrett hits him with the guitar, so we kind of understand, as Otagara Central says, you know, assume Jeff Jarrett position. You know, like Jeff Jarrett's that guy. You know, like I'm trying to imitate Otagara Central, but Jeff Jarrett's kind of that guy too. You know, Otagara Central has that gimmick too, where you know, you get what he does. He just sticks his fingers up and he kind of yells about Jeff Jarrett. This is another great time we would yell at Jeff Jarrett because just because you understand why he's doing that. This puts attention on him, and this really goes nowhere, really. Unless you have QT Marshall and Jeff Jarrett in ROH, really. But I really think that Jay Lethal needs to, like I've said, in fantasy booking, he needs to work with Ric Flair, and Ric Flair needs to kind of be his mentor, and that could be a really great direction. Because, honestly, he's getting up there in age. He can kind of, like, have that story of, once again, he wants to go somewhere. He wants to be somebody. And his career is kind of adding up, really. You could do something where you incorporate that maybe he is offered by MVP in the Hurt Syndicate. And then you can do Shelton versus Jay Lethal or something like that. There's something you can do with Jay Lethal. But I don't want to see him wasted on Ring of Honor. There's a lot of things you can do with him. And then the next match was Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. As I said before, guys, I'm sorry. I know it's a pain in the ass. I got to make sure my asshole of a brother doesn't run through the door and disrupt my video. So Red Velvet versus Layla Hirsch. Red Velvet, honestly, I like that, that sexy Christmas elf look that she had. Nothing memorable about this match. I do like Layla Hirsch. She's the underdog. I actually didn't realize how tiny she was. She looks like she's 4 feet tall or something like 5 or 4 feet tall. It had a controversial ending because what happened was Red Velvet, she got like a ring apron, like a big metal bar from the ring apron, and then she tucks her tights and just like hits Layla Hirsch, I believe, with the wrench, really. So it was kind of like, it came really out of nowhere. So, that just was a little weird because it was almost like, what's this really? It was kind of unexpected. And Layla Hirsch was doing a really great job. So it was kind of almost like, like, where did this come from? Like, why did you include this? It felt very pretentious. My match of the night was Dustin and Sammy versus the Righteous, the Texas Bull Rope match. I've kind of said this before, and I'll say this again, that, whenever you have special stipulations like a Texas Bull Rope match, I wish they would announce it. I wish they would have graphics telling people the rules, in the beginning, so people get that. And then that's how I really feel about that. They did a hell of a job. Sammy did a ladder spot. Dustin did. He pushed Dutch through barbed wire boards. More than likely, Dustin and Sammy win, and now they're being challenged by a team in Japan, really. So, it'll be interesting if that team actually came down and they had a conversation or whatever. But the thing about it is, definitely I like what Sammy is doing in that role of, working with Dustin to become a better performer. Sammy was around some controversy because of the I would rape Sasha Banks, when the word rape also meant, like to fuck somebody hardcore, consensually. So, working with Dustin, he's honestly paying his dues, and then also hurting Matt Hardy, really. So I'm hurting Jeff Hardy. So, he's kind of paying his dues. He's kind of in that Jungle Boy Jack Perry type of role, where Jack Perry was kind of doing a lot of stuff for AEW. Like, he got set on fire. He was in a lot of big matches. He was doing a lot of, hits. He was doing, Jack Perry was trying to do a lot of, catch-up work or paying his dues type of work. And I see that with Sammy, so that works. I'm also happy, too, because Sammy, did some high flyer spots, but he was more of a brawler. So I like that because he is a high flyer wrestler. But if he's in a brawling type of match, you have to kind of be a minimum to that, and I kind of appreciate that. For example, I was saying something like last month when they had the Will Ospreay Kyle Fletcher match, since they've been hitting each other with screwdrivers, they should have a first blood match. But if Will Ospreay and Kyle Fletcher did have that stipulation, they shouldn't be doing like the flips and twirls all the time, really, because that's not appropriate. You have to match the stipulation, and I felt that Sammy really gave you that. He's a hardcore wrestler. He's a brawler. There was a brawler hardcore type of match, but he also incorporated his elements. His elements of being a high flyer. And obviously, because Dutch disrespected the honor of Dustin Rhodes, of Dusty, so that was really good. But again, it's almost like, where do you go with this from there? Because again, there's no story, there's no conflict, there's no What would happen if you even showed that promo? And then you have Dustin and Sammy kind of improvise, So, again, that's kind of one of the other big issues with the show is that's match after match after match. And that's why Ring of Honor sucks, really, because you can't do that because there's no story or whatever. Like, I would say that that's one of the reasons why I appreciate Shane Taylor is because he's trying to create... Shane Taylor is trying to pick fights with people, and he's trying to. And when you do that, you pick a story, you pick characters, you give people a motive, really. So I think Shane Taylor is the star of the night with me because I really appreciate that. The next match that I have is the Pure Championship match between Nigel McGuinness and I forgot his name, but Tiger Style. So, Tiger Style and him have a great match. I did not like how they went to 3 rope breaks, and then they both went to 3 rope breaks because it kind of delays the match a little bit. And again, as I said, with the Pure title, you need to have a graphic explaining the rules. And I think that Nigel McGuinness said something like, I don't want the judges can go back. So, there's not a lot of people who know what the fuck the Pure title is, why you have such a complicated, technical, stipulations for that title and all that, really, but I did appreciate, I think what was more entertaining was Shane Taylor and Nigel McGuinness just having their banter with each other. But it was a good match. Nigel McGuinness put on a great performance. Like this guy, like Tiger Style, I don't know his name really. It's not Leo Rush, I think, but it's somebody else really. But whoever this guy is, he did a really great job. He did a lot of really great moves. And as I said before, many times, Shane Taylor Promotions, they really need a push. The trios titles, if you really want to put a team in that, or the 6-man tag team titles, you really, really, really need to put Shane Taylor in that. He would be a top heel. That would make you a lot of money, really. So yeah, I really think that Shane Taylor, there's a lot to him. But, again, the match was really good. I was surprised Nigel McGuinness did not win this, but I do understand if he's going to be like a commentator, why would you kind of take the title off of him for whatever reason, really? I also want to mention that they showed the documentary of him and Bryan Danielson. And I hated that because he came off as a whiny little bitch too much. He was kind of talking about oh, well, I wish I had this, I wish I had that. Bryan Danielson, he got this, he got that. My career did well. He sounds like me when I bitch about the 48-hour film project. Kind of meta, really. But if you're always just bitching, if he comes off as this big bitch about not having the same career or his life going down a different path, really, that's not a good documentary. That's just somebody bitching, I bitch about the 40-hour film project a little too much. It's a meta, it's self-reflective. I should stop bitching about the 48. But yeah, that's good. Jericho versus Matt Cardona. They had really great entrances. I like how Matt Cardona was walked through the Manhattan Center. That looked really cool. And then the other thing that I will say is that Jericho, I agree with what a lot of people were saying. I didn't like how he had the Statue of Liberty styrofoam stuff, and he was encouraging the crowd, because this is kind of when Chris Jericho goes into what I call the 48-hour film project comedy, or cute comedy, where you're going from silly to just stupid and taking away. So I was not really a fan of him doing that. And then the other thing that I will say with that is I did not like the Jericho promo where he was going around New York City, because honestly, what is that? There's no hype, there's no sense. It's just Jericho being a larger than life rock star asshole, and that's his character. There's nothing new. What would happen if he said something like, what, I'm going around New York City, I'm the king of this city, I'm going to be the forever champion of ROH. He shows clips of Athena. When I look at this roster, I see all the people that don't live up to me. I'm going to be the king of ROH forever type of thing, really. I'm going to hold it longer than the Bruno Sammartino reign. And you kind of show clips of other wrestlers or other babyface, you show Dustin Rhodes, or you show Sammy Guevara, or you show, even Commander and a few other people that could be, future opponents for him in ROH, really. So I really think with his promo, that advertisement that he did, him just dicking around New York City, that's he could have just, as I said, picked more fights with people, and that could lead you to something, really. But I really think that Jericho, like I said, he's going to be this blowhard character, and that's really it, really. He doesn't really have a sense of picking fights with people and trying to make younger make younger wrestlers be like, okay, this guy's the final boss. I need to do all these things to kind of get to that final boss in Chris Jericho, you know. So that's one of the reasons why ROH is not good, because there's no sense of, you know, like challenging people, a story, a motivation, and, you know, characters really. So, you know, when I saw this match, what I would say is that once again, I didn't really remember anything. Nothing really stood out to me. I was also very happy with this match because there wasn't a lot of hardcore stuff. Because again, you cannot have a Chris Jericho match turn into a hardcore, a Chris Jericho or a Mark Briscoe match. They both have these issues of turning into a hardcore match when it's not a hardcore stipulation, really. Obviously, Brian Keith and Big Bill caused Matt Cardona a distraction, but the problem is that this is getting a little too repetitive. You know, it makes everybody look stupid, because honestly, if I was to face Chris Jericho, I won the ROH championship, I would, like, you know, pay people, like, I would say, okay, you know, Dustin and Sammy, okay, Matt Cardona, okay, a few other people, we're going to whoop Brian Keith, and we're also going to whoop Big Bill, really, because, you know, it's starting to get very repetitive. And then another thing that I didn't like, it was that when it showed a lot of these matches, there was a little stamp that said approved by the Learning Tree. So it kind of goes into that Chris Jericho. And then this is where you got to be careful with him, or he has to be careful, is that there's a difference between being a heel, and then there's a difference between interjecting yourself. And when you interject yourself too much, you kind of create a, you know, a get the fuck off my television type of heel. You know, a great example was when Bully Ray put Dixie Carter through the table. Like, he said to everybody, okay, I'm going to get all the wrestlers around the ring and we're going to, like, clap and applaud. Like, that's, like, a little overbooking, really. So I felt like that interjection of dumb shit by Jericho, he does that a little too much. But overall, like I said, I didn't really remember anything from this match. There's nothing that stood out to me. Matt Cardona, like, I was kind of happy to see him work. He should be in AEW. He needs to be in AEW. He can do a lot for AEW. He has a good voice. Because it looks really bad in a way. Because in a way, it kind of says that there's nobody on the ROH roster that can be challenging for Chris Jericho, really. You know, you've not built up a person. So it's definitely very glaring that you have to hire, you know, somebody from an outside company. It reminds me of what happened in Combat Zone Wrestling. When AJ Styles left TNA Wrestling, what did he do? He went to Combat Zone Wrestling to challenge for the Combat Zone Heavyweight Championship, because you know, that's such a big name, really. But when you have to pay money to get, like, a champion from another company or a star from another company, you know, that really shows you that Ring of Honor is shit. And I kind of even told myself, I think, like, after this, I may be done with Ring of Honor. You know, like, for example, if they have, like, a show out in Washington or very far away, like in Texas, I'm probably not going to do that ever again, really, because I don't really see with Ring of Honor, to me, they don't have an NXT type of vibe of building the next generation. Where can these people go? In a lot of senses of moving people forward, really. It's just, you know, featuring people just to feature people. And I think that they don't know how to pick their next champions or set that up, really. Because even throughout the night, I didn't see Billy Starks do any promos of saying, you know what, I want to beat the Forever Champion. You know, she's held on for too long. I'm gonna be Forever Billy or something like that. You know, so there was no senses of moving to the next level. And like I said, I didn't sit through. I like the theme as music, but it's like what I said. You know, if you live in Connecticut, where I live, what happens is that, you know, there's a Grand Central. There's a couple Grand Central trains. There's one train, if you leave around midnight, it'll get you to Connecticut at 2:30 a.m. You miss that, there's a 1 a.m. that'll get you in Connecticut around 4 a.m. And then there's a 11:31 that will get you to Connecticut around, like, you know, 1:30 a.m. So I said to myself, do I want to see Athena have a match for 30 minutes, knowing that she's going to win, and knowing that this is going to continue on this, you know, way too long title reign? Would I want to see that and then end up being in Connecticut around like 4 a.m. really? I said, no, I'm going to not see it, leave early, and then just, you know, get energy to go to Collision tonight. So that's all I really have to say. I really just have to say that overall, as a pay-per-view, it's 2 out of 5 for me. I think that a lot of the matches I didn't care about. None of these are wrestlers that I think are going to go in a good direction, really. I think that ROH really stagnates. You're going to have Chris Jericho be a champion for a long time. You're going to have Athena be a champion for a long time. You're probably going to have Dustin and Sammy be a champion for a long time. You have a lot of wrestlers that I don't think are going to do the NXT thing, where eventually they're going to be on the Dynamite roster, leading to a lot of great things. I also don't think that nobody really on this card really has a sense of what's the next thing, what's going to happen after the show, really. So, you have to be like, okay, Hanako gets on the microphone, she says something in Japanese, somebody translates it for her, and she's going to be like, I'm going to be like the queen of ROH, really. You know what? I'm going to win all the titles because, you see how I get over, Tony likes me type of thing, really. I'm going to be a spoiled brat. Shane Taylor Promotions, I will give Shane Taylor a lot of credit for tonight. But he's going to be like, okay, we lost, but we're going to be champions one day. And then you do a beatdown of the six-man tag team champions, Dustin and the Von Erichs. And then you kind of turn that into something. Or you do something where you have like the conglomeration challenge, the trios champions, the Moxley faction. And then you have Shane Taylor kind of appear and be like, you know what? We are like three sharks in the water that you got to worry about. You have like Shibata, and what happens? What if you did something like he's gonna say something like, he says something like, I want to challenge Okada, and I really want to prove myself against Okada, something like that. Or what would happen if you had Jay Lethal again, like Ric Flair comes out and they kind of said like, this is what it's gonna be. We're gonna like. I'm late in my career. I want to be the ROH champion one more time. Or he says something like, I've been ROH champion. I want to be a champion in AEW. I just want to work with you. I want to make you proud. Will you be my manager towards this journey? You have Dustin and Sammy. Like I said about Dustin Rhodes, he should be the ROH champion. He talks about that. He talks about honoring Dustin. I want to be the ROH champion. I want to walk into All In. I want to be in Texas as the ROH champion. And then he says something to Sammy like, if that ever happens, where I am the champion by the time of All In, it's going to be you and me. I'm in front of 50,000 people at the Texas Dome. You see what I'm doing. I'm creating stories. And then you have Athena, and you kind of say something like Athena says, I'm the forever champion. We're going to have a coronation for me. And then you have like she says something like, I'm the queen of ROH. And then you have Queen Aminata say like, okay, no, bitch. I'm the actual queen of ROH. I'm the queen of AEW. And then they both have a match at the next show, which is probably going to be in April. But you get what I'm saying. There's no storytelling. There's no tying in. It's just match after match after match. And that's not good professional wrestling because there's no story. There's no hype. There's no sense of characters. Do I think any of these people are actually going to be wrestlers that are like, okay, we're going to graduate ourselves to the main roster? Like Billy Stark should be there. Athena should be there. Matt Cardona should be there. Red Velvet should be there. Jay Lethal should be there. And really, and that about it, really, and Shane Taylor Promotions. So, like ROH has a lot of problems, really. It was good professional wrestling, but there was no great storytelling or no great, what's going to happen next? What's going to make me look forward to, the taping that you're going to do, like either tonight or tomorrow, and what's going to make you look forward to actually watching the show, what's going to make you look forward to your next event, which is probably going to be in April, then your next event, which is going to be the night before All In Texas. So, as I said, great matches, very bad storytelling.